life coach and NLP practitioner, helping people design the life that they want after separation, divorce, big life change. So if you've had big life change and you want to design your life instead of just carry on as things are, then keep listening. So I looked around when I was going through my separation and I felt so lonely. It felt like nobody else in the world was separating or divorcing. And it was really weird because given the statistics of divorce, there was a high chance that lots of people were going through that and lots of people were in unhappy marriages, but it did not feel like that for me. I didn't know anybody actually. Some of my daughter's friends had parents that had separated previously, like years ago, and maybe were in new relationships or were quite happy on their own. They'd gone through the process. But the more I looked around, the more I saw happy parents together. And I just felt like I was the only one that had failed in this whole relationship thing. And that they were, when you look at them, you think, oh yeah, they'll be together forever. And since then, I have seen a few of them, like one at a time, a couple have separated, but it's been really quiet, very sort of, yeah, I haven't heard a lot about it. And one of the things that actually my daughter told me, and I've mentioned this a few times before, but the worst thing for her about the whole divorce was what other kids were telling her how it would be. And I got that too in some ways, because when it was old divorces or past divorces, I got told about who had got the house, how much money there was, and all of these things were going on, but they were all from their perspective. It was their divorce. And when I went and first saw the solicitor, the thing he said to me was, every single divorce circumstance is completely different. And it just because that person got that and this person got this doesn't mean anything in the scheme of things. So that was quite helpful to hear at that time. But it's also, when you're in it, you don't realise that there's no cookie cutter separation. Every individual reason is unique. So there could have been abuse, there could have been money worries, there could have been infidelity, it could have just been growing apart, which is more where me and my husband were, that we'd just grown apart. But each of those situations has something very different within them. So it's quite easy to judge from the outside looking in what's going on in somebody's relationship, particularly if there is something like infidelity. But when you're in it, it's a really lonely place to be, because you know where you are, but nobody else does. So there I was, feeling very, very separate from everybody else who was happily married. And in that space, I couldn't stop talking about my marriage falling apart. I'd pretty much talk to anybody who would listen about it, but they were all happily married. And it was actually way too much for them to hear my drama when they weren't in it. They had no experience of it. I've always been a completely open book, and often people feel I'm far too open for their liking. They don't like it. And I can understand how that can feel too much. But it was interesting because I've been doing a bit of research over the last couple of years, just general stuff, and I came across Brené Brown, and I really love Brené Brown and what she talks about. She's pretty amazing. But she talks about floodlighting. I'd never heard about floodlighting, and I realised I've been doing it my whole life. And it's where you talk about something really deep, meaningful to anybody that's there. And the information for them is like having a floodlight shone right in their eyes. It's too bright and they can't do that. Have you ever had that experience where you tell somebody something about yourself and they visibly wince because they're not prepared for it? They're not in a position to hear your deep stuff. They don't know what to say about it, and they don't have the experiences that you've had. So I completely understand my open bookness can be really difficult for some people to hear. But I've also had feedback from my clients that it's been valuable to them because they then know that I've been through those experiences. And also talking about floodlighting has been helpful to my clients because they realise when they're doing it, and sometimes they can hold back a bit. The one thing I have to say about all of the conversations I've had is that for the person living in the situation that I talk about, it's not too much for them because they can resonate with it. Even if they've got their different scenario or the different things going on, they can go, yes, Jenny really understands. I've been through that. She's been through it. I'm going through it. So perhaps it would have been maybe, I don't know, some people I think would think it would have been classier for me to stay quiet. Perhaps I would have had some reverential respect for not saying anything. Perhaps I could have been more mysterious around my circumstances of separating and divorce and that it had happened. But for me, I share my story because I know it helps at least one person. The person who is struggling with being cheated on, the person who is having the affair and doesn't know how to leave either the affair or the marriage, the person who feels not enough for their husband or wife, the person who feels so lonely even though they're married and they're still in that space but they feel terribly lonely, the person who met their spouse as a teenager and they've grown into siblings over the years. They've not grown into a married couple relationship, they've grown into a sibling relationship. The sexless marriage that ended and they are now convinced they're no good at intimacy. So all of these different scenarios are relevant to people. And it's really hard when you're stuck in that to feel that loneliness and not know where to point it. So when we're in the midst of all these things and we're feeling lonely, one space that we do talk to is family and friends. And family and friends are amazing, but quite often they're on our side, which is great. But it doesn't always help us move forward and move through it. And sometimes that can be a difficult space to be in when you're relying on close family and friends. They know you really well, they know your circumstances, and they can't give you any other perspective than the love that they've got for you. And sometimes also they can see it from a different point of view, and that's really difficult. So sometimes they have another view of what your divorce, your separation was, and that can be really, really difficult. So my group in Facebook, it's a free group and it was set up to fill this gap. You've separated or you're divorced or you're divorcing and you don't really know what to do with yourself, you don't know what to do with your life. Now, the group is not about going through all of the emotions of divorce and those things, but it is about how do we move forward? How do we gain confidence to be ourselves? How do we find out who we are? How do we work towards designing the life that we want instead of being stuck in this cycle of maybe floodlighting people or having family members come in and give their opinions? How do we work out where we want to go in the future? And so the group is about giving support from myself, but also the other group members, because they're all going through it too, or they have been through it. There are group members in there who have come out the other side, and they're here to inspire you to come out of the other side of difficult circumstances. None of us are here to judge each other. So it's a group where there will be some triggering moments because there is going to be people in there who have been cheated on. And then there's going to be people in there who have used an affair for whatever reason to either get out of the relationship or whatever reason they had, bolster confidence. And so there will be triggers within the group, but it's not about that. It's about how do we shed all of that stuff that we've had to hold on to or we felt we've held on to for a long time. How do we then move forward? There's myself in the group to help with coaching and NLP. I've also got other experts in the group that do things like constellation therapy. I've got people who help others build their businesses. So if that's something that you're looking for, there's lots of different experts within the group too to help you navigate this new life that you want to live, the one that you want to design, so that we're not just seeds blowing in the wind and landing wherever the wind decides to take us, that we're actually creating a life that we really want to have. So if you would like to join my group to find out how we can support you to design the life that you really want, to process the emotions that you've got at the moment, and to just move forward, then the group is in Facebook. It is Design Your Life After Separation or Divorce. And we would love to have you in there for us to support you and also you to support others to create a community. Please remember to subscribe. It really helps me. Hit the likes, the buttons, all of the bells and whistles. I forget the notifications, all that kind of stuff. I always forget that bit. So please hit all those things. It would really help me for you to subscribe. I want to get this out to more people so that they can live the life that they really want to live, not just put up with whatever they've got at the moment. And always remember to have a really powerful day.